Network attacks. Here's an overview of common network attack schemes on the internet, how attackers operate, what techniques they use, and what they aim to achieve. They are categorized as follows: disruption, eavesdropping/interception, data compromise, and social engineering/code attacks. Disruption and denial of service attacks. These attacks aim to make a service or network unavailable to legitimate users. DOS attack/DDoS attack, distributed denial of service. Attackers flood a server or network with excessive traffic, requests, packets, often using a botnet, a network of compromised devices, so that legitimate traffic cannot get through. Amplification/flood-based variants, e.g. SMOF attack/Fraggle attack. These exploit network protocols to amplify traffic, e.g. an attacker sends spoofed ICMP packets to a broadcast address, causing many machines to respond to a victim, overwhelming it. Packet drop attack, black hole attack. A compromised router or network relay silently drops packets instead of forwarding them, possibly selectively, only for certain destinations or at certain times, making detection harder, yet disrupting connectivity. Goal: overwhelm resources, disrupt service, or create a diversion for more stealthy attacks. Interception and man-in-the-middle, MITM, style attacks. These attacks intercept, monitor, or manipulate communications between parties. Man-in-the-middle attack, MITM. The attacker positions themselves between two communicating parties, intercepting, eavesdropping, or even altering data transparently. Common MITM techniques: ARP spoofing/ARP poisoning. In a local network, attacker forges ARP messages to associate their MAC address with another device's IP, causing traffic to be rerouted through attacker's device. DNS spoofing/DNS poisoning. By falsifying DNS responses, attackers redirect victims to malicious servers without their knowledge, enabling credential theft or malware delivery. SSL/TLS stripping, aka HTTPS stripping. Attackers downgrade or strip secure connections, HTTPS rightward arrow HTTP, making communications unencrypted and vulnerable to interception. Rogue/fake Wi-Fi access points, e.g. evil twin attack, karma attack. Attackers set up fraudulent wireless networks that mimic legitimate ones. If a user connects and doesn't verify the network, attacker can intercept all traffic. Session hijacking. After intercepting session tokens or cookies, attackers impersonate legitimate users and gain unauthorized access. Goal: steal sensitive data, credentials, personal info, modify communications, or impersonate users/devices. Data compromise and application layer attacks. These attacks target applications, databases, or systems to extract, alter, or destroy data. SQL injection, malicious SQL commands inserted into a web application's input, e.g. login form, search box. If the input isn't properly sanitized or parameterized, attacker can manipulate the database, reading, modifying, or deleting data. Cross-site scripting, XSS. Attackers embed malicious scripts into web pages, e.g. via comment boxes, input fields. When a user visits, the script runs in their browser, enabling credential theft, session hijacking, or other malicious behavior. Malware/Trojan/malicious code attacks. Attackers deliver malicious software, Trojans, worms, spyware, often through infected attachments, downloads, or drive-by visits, giving them remote access, persistent control, or data theft capacity. Zero-day exploits. Attackers take advantage of unknown, or unpatched, vulnerabilities in software or systems, meaning defenders have no prior notice to prepare or defend. Goal: gain unauthorized access, steal data, compromise integrity of applications or systems, or maintain persistence. Social engineering, phishing and credential attacks. These attacks exploit human trust or user negligence more than technical vulnerabilities. Phishing/spear phishing/whaling attack. Attackers masquerade as legitimate entities, banks, services, co-workers, via email, messages, or fake websites, tricking victims into revealing credentials or other sensitive info. Password attacks, brute force, dictionary attacks, credential stuffing. Attackers try many password combinations, often automated, to guess weak or reused passwords, gaining unauthorized login access. Baiting or pretexting, offering free software, gifts, or creating a scenario to trick users into inadvertently installing malware or divulging sensitive info. Goal: obtain valid credentials, trick users into voluntary surrender of sensitive information, or deploy malware via human trust. Mixed/other attacks and advanced threats. These are more specialized or advanced, combining multiple techniques, or targeting deep system flaws. Downgrade attack, also bidding down/version rollback. Attackers force communication protocols, e.g. TLS/HTTPS, SSH, to downgrade to older, weaker, or even unencrypted versions, making interception or exploitation easier. Advanced persistent threat/adaptive attacks, like highly evasive adaptive threat, heat. Sophisticated attackers use subtle methods to bypass traditional defenses, e.g. malicious links disguised as legitimate URLs, exploiting limitations of standard security. Gateways. Insider threat/third-party supply chain attacks, Attackers exploit access from trusted insiders or compromise third-party vendors/partners to breach systems across multiple organizations. Goal: evade detection, exploit legacy weaknesses, persist stealthily over extended periods, or compromise through trusted channels. Key takeaways and why it matters. There's no one attack type. Many attacks combine several techniques, e.g. social engineering plus malware, or MITM plus downgrade exploit. Weak encryption, outdated software, poor input validation, and human error remain the most common enablers. Because attack strategies evolve, for example adaptive evasive threats, continuous update, defense in depth, layers of security, employee/user education, and secure configurations are essential. Awareness of how attacks work helps both end users and organizations whether to lock down Wi-Fi, validate inputs, use strong passwords, or enforce encryption, HTTPS, TLS, SSH. Full taxonomy of real-world network attacks: denial of service, DOS, and disruption attacks. 1. Distributed denial of service, DDoS. Attackers overload a server with traffic from thousands of compromised devices. Example, Mirai botnet DDoS attacks on Dyn, 2016. 2. SynFlood exploits TCP handshake by sending incomplete connection requests. Example, SynFloods used against early e-commerce sites in 2000. 3. UDP flood sends excessive UDP packets to random ports. Example, attacks against gaming servers. 4. ICMP flood, ping flood/SMUF attack, uses ICMP echo requests to overwhelm networks. Example, SMUF attacks against corporate networks in the early 2000s. 5. DNS amplification uses open DNS resolvers to amplify traffic. Example, 300 plus Gbps DNS amplification attack on Spam House, 2013. Interception, impersonation and MITM attacks. 6. Man in the middle, MITM, attacker intercepts communications between two parties. Example, MITM over open Wi-Fi capturing login credentials. 7. ARP spoofing/ARP poisoning forges ARP replies to redirect LAN traffic. Example, attackers intercept credentials on university Wi-Fi networks. 8. DNS spoofing/cache poisoning redirects victims to fake websites. Example, 2010 DNS poisoning attack on Brazilian ISPs. 9. HTTPS/TLS downgrade, SSL stripping, forces HTTPS rightward arrow HTTP so data is unencrypted. Example, SLStrip attacks used at insecure hotspots. 10. Evil twin Wi-Fi attack rogue AP mimicking a legitimate network. Example, fake free airport Wi-Fi APS stealing logins. 11. Session hijacking steals session cookies to impersonate users. Example, Firesheep browser extension, 2010, hijacking Facebook sessions. Network scanning, recon and enumeration. 12. Port scanning maps open ports and services. Example, attackers scanning for exposed SSH, port 22, worldwide. 13. OS fingerprinting identifies system type/version to target known vulnerabilities. Example, using map to fingerprint IoT devices for Mirai-style takeover. 14. Network sniffing captures unencrypted data packets. Example, Wireshark capturing passwords on unencrypted FTP. Vulnerability exploitation, network plus application layer. 15. SQL injection injects SQL into input fields to access databases. Example, the 2011 Sony Pictures breach. 16. Cross-site scripting, XSS, injects malicious JavaScript into web pages. Example, MySpace Sammy worm. 17. Command injection executes OS commands through vulnerable web apps. Example, Shell Shock exploit, 2014, enabling remote command execution. 18. Directory traversal accesses restricted directories using path manipulation. Example, accessing /etc/password on poorly configured servers. 19. Zero-day exploits attacks unknown/unpatched vulnerabilities. Example, Eternal Blue, before public patch, used in Wanakery. Malware-driven network attacks. 20. Worm propagation attack self-spreading malware across networks. Example, Wanakery worm ransomware, 2017. 21. Remote access trojans, RATs, backdoors enabling remote control. Example, Dark Comet rat used in targeted surveillance. 22. Botnet formation and C2, command and control, compromises devices into an attacker-controlled network. Example, Mirai IoT botnet. 23. Ransomware spread via network shares encrypts data across internal networks. Example, NotPetya spreading through Windows SMB. Credential and authentication attacks. 24. Brute force attack tries many passwords until one works. Example, credential attacks against exposed RDP servers. 25. Credential stuffing uses leaked passwords from data breaches. Example, automated logins against streaming platforms. 26 Pass the hash attack uses NTLM hash to authenticate without knowing password. Example, attacks on Windows Active Directory environments. Social engineering, network hybrid attacks 27. Phishing tricks victims into clicking malicious links or giving credentials. Example, spear phishing used in the 2016 DNC breach. 28 Watering hole attack compromises websites frequented by a target group. Example, attacks against industrial control system engineers. 29 Baiting/USB drop attack malicious USBs containing malware. Example, infected USBs used to breach Middle Eastern nuclear facilities. Advanced, stealthy and supply chain attacks 30. Supply chain attack compromises legitimate software updates. Example, SolarWinds Orion compromise, 2020. 31 Advanced persistent threat, apt, long-term, stealthy infiltration involving multiple attack types. Example, apt 29 Cozy Bear breaches. 32 Side-channel timing or traffic analysis infers sensitive information from packet timing patterns. Example, attacks on VPN traffic to identify visited websites. Network attached taxonomy graph TDA network attacks -B1. DOS and disruption A-C2. Interception and MITM A-D3. Reconnaissance A-E4. Vulnerability exploitation A-F5. Malware-based attacks A-G6. Credential attacks A-H7. Social engineering hybrid A-I8. Advanced/stealthy attacks %% DOS B-B1 DDoS B-B2 SYN flood B-B3 UDP flood B-B4 ICMP/SMOF attack B-B5 DNS amplification %% MITMC-C1 MITMC-C2 ARP spoofing C-C3 DNS spoofing C-C4 TLS/HTTPS downgrade C-C5 evil twin Wi-Fi C-C6 session hijacking %% recon D-D1 port scanning D-D2 OS fingerprinting D-D3 packet sniffing %% exploitation E-E1 SQL injection E-E2 XSS E-E3 command injection E-E4 directory traversal E-E5 0-day exploits %% malware F-F1 worm propagation F-F2 rat/backdoors F-F3 botnets and C2 F-F4 ransomware via SMB %% credential G-G1 brute force G-G2 credential stuffing G-G3 pass the hash. %% social engineering H-H1 phishing H-H2 watering hole H-H3 baiting/USB drop %% advanced II1 supply chain attack II2 apt, persistent intrusion, II3 side channel/traffic analysis. Here is a breakdown of how these categories often intersect in a real-world kill chain. The network attack life cycle in a sophisticated campaign. An attacker doesn't just pick one node from your list, they chain them together. 1. Reconnaissance, D1, D2 The attacker uses port scanning to find an open door. 2. Vulnerability exploitation, E5 They use a 0-day to gain initial access. 3. Malware-based attacks, F2, F3 A remote access Trojan, RAT, is installed to establish a beachhead. 4. Credential attacks, G3 Using pass the hash, they move laterally through the network to gain admin privileges. 5. Exfiltration or disruption, B1, I2 Finally, they either steal data or launch a DDoS to mask their tracks. Notable trends in 2026. Since the list above covers the fundamentals, here are 3 areas where these attacks are evolving most rapidly this year. 1. AI-enhanced reconnaissance, D. Attackers are now using large language models, LLMs, to automate OS fingerprinting and packet sniffing. Instead of manual analysis, AI tools can identify patterns in network traffic to predict patch levels and suggest the specific SQL injection, E1, string most likely to work against a unique database configuration. 2. Supply chain and interception, I1, C. With the rise of decentralized apps and API-heavy environments, supply chain attacks aren't just about software updates anymore. Attackers are increasingly targeting the CI/CD pipelines, continuous integration/continuous deployment, to inject malicious code directly into the interception layer of a service before it even reaches the user. 3. DNS and TLS evolution, C3, C4, as more organizations move to DNS over HTTPS, DO, standard DNS spoofing is becoming harder. However, this has led to a rise in TLS downgrade attacks and adversary-in-the-middle proxies that attempt to trick users into accepting rogue certificates before the secure handshake is finalized. Comparison of high-impact attack vectors. Attack category difficulty to detect potential impact. Modern mitigation apt, I2, very high total compromise behavior-based EDR/XDR DDoS, B1, low service outage Anycast scrubbing/CDN credential stuffing, G2, medium account takeover passwordless auth/FIDO2 watering hole, H2, high targeted infection browser isolation/sandboxing.